So I'm Stephanie, the registered dietitian.
I'm Jeremy, I'm a wellness chef.
And today we're going to talk about making every bite count. So often during cancer, with treatment, sometimes it's often that you may lose your appetite for a variety of different reasons, but you may not feel like eating, but it is really important to get the calories and protein that you need so that you can maintain your weight and have enough energy and protein to heal and recover well. So we've designed a bunch of different recipes that actually focus on proteins and fats that are good for your heart, because oftentimes in order to bump up those calories, you might need to add fat. And so because it's February and it's Heart Health Month, we're taking a look at specific foods and ingredients that are actually not only good for increasing the calories and making every bite count, but also to make sure that you have you're protecting your heart as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So here we go.
Yes.
Certain times when we eat different foods, you might not feel like eating. The recommendation is really to make every bite count and to eat when you feel like eating. And sometimes that means eating foods that you might see at dinner time, or foods that you might see at breakfast at dinner time. So for example, eggs. So today we've created a rendition on that with tofu. So Jeremy's gonna walk us through that.
Yes, so this was an interesting challenge because one of my favorite dishes is a frittata. Growing up, like Stephanie said, we would have that for lunch, dinner, breakfast. It was a perfect little bump of protein and taste and to sort of get you through. And Stephanie tasked me to make an eggless version of a frittata. So
just an alternative, again, in terms of heart health and well-being, eggs are a great option, but tofu actually is a great option as well because you could get that texture. Mm-hmm. And so that's where our conversation came in.
Absolutely, yeah. So this would be it's an interesting alternative.
So in terms of tofu, the research actually is showing that moderate amounts of tofu is actually protective, even for people who have had for breast cancer and for survivorship. So moderate amounts could be something like 2 or 3 servings a day. So that's not that much, and it's a great alternative to protein, and it also helps in terms of heart health.
Mm-hmm. So this recipe, we're making a red onion frittata. So this can be obviously any ingredients that you like. Some people like asparagus. I say go with the season. There's not too much in season right now, but onions store well. So and you can get still local onions. So we're gonna make a really nice onion frittata. And to start it off, I've just sliced the onion and I'm just with a moderate heat, just slowly cooking them down in my pan with just a little bit of olive oil. And I added just a little bit of balsamic vinegar. I don't know if you can smell that, get that nice little tartness in there. That's it, really simple. If you can put spinach, you can put peppers, zucchini, whatever you want in this part here. Now, this is the most important part. So this is sort of our egg substitute, our base for the dish. We're using silken tofu. So silken tofu is like your soft tofu. Mm-hmm. So it's a little creamier. I'm also adding a little bit of medium tofu. Now, this is up to you depending on the texture you like. So the silken tofu is gonna give you sort of a really nice sort of creamy, custardy type of frittata. The adding different textures, so firmer textures, is going to give you more of that like coddled egg feel. So a little bit more of that, almost like that scrambled creamy egg texture. So you can play with this a little bit. I'm using 500 grams, but you can up this depending on your pan size. If you need a little bit more volume, or if you want to make it a little bit smaller, you can sort of change that. It's not like an exact science. And the different packages come in different sizes. So in and around 500 grams will work.
Yeah.
We're adding it to our blender here.
Yeah.
And just break it up a little bit. And it's pretty soft, so it blends pretty easily.
Yeah. And just again, to reiterate with tofu, so it is made with soy, and it is an important food in terms of heart health. Because it can add the protein into your diet. So if you're not feeling like you're too hungry and you want to, eat something, having protein is really important. And sometimes it comes up, well, should I avoid soy? And like I said, the research is actually showing that it's important for moderate amounts, and it has a protective effect on those who had cancer or even prevention, so survivors and prevention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so a moderate amount would be like 2 servings. Okay, so you could have 3/4 of a cup of tofu or soy milk. Edamame is also an option, or even soy nuts you could use as an alternative to proteins.
So the tofu is going to go in the blender. Yes, question.
Sorry,
It's okay.
You said 500, is that of each or?
No, 500 total.
Total, yeah.
500 grams total in here. And again, like I said, you can sort of fluctuate that depending on how much you need, but I'm working with 500 grams today. So this is obviously, it's very neutral flavor. It's pretty bland. So it absorbs pretty much whatever you add to it. So this is where seasoning is completely up to you. I'm keeping mine very simple. So I'm adding just a little bit of salt and a little bit of black pepper.
Yeah.
You can add dried herbs. You can add some chilies if you like it a little spicier. I'm going to add a little bit of turmeric as well. The turmeric is going to give us a little bit of flavor, but it's also going to give us that yellow color, right? So it's going to make it appear to look like eggs. Yeah,
and it also has lots of antioxidants and anti-inflammatory properties. So adding that in areas, just so that you could boost up again, not only the calories and the protein, but the nutrients that you're including within your foods also counts.
Cornstarch, you can use arrowroot starch, even potato starch works. This just is going to help to bind everything together. So I'm adding about a couple tablespoons in there. And then I need a liquid. Now, because we're focusing on making every bite count, right, where we want to choose a liquid that is a little bit higher in calories. So I'm going with coconut milk here. But for this recipe, any liquid will work. So if you did want to keep it on the lighter end, you could just add water if you wanted. Or if you want to add more flavor, you can add a little bit of stock or almond milk or something like that.
And so coconut milk is high in calories because of the fat content that it has. So per cup, there's about 550 calories. And if you choose, if you're on the alternative area where you want to decrease the calories and limit some of that saturated fat that's coming from the coconut milk, you can always use the light version, and that chops off about 1/3 of the fat that's coming from saturated fat. But again, in terms of needing to make every bite count when you're really feeling low and you don't have an appetite, increasing those calories is really important.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's it. We're going to zip this up. Just until it combines and mixes well. So that's pretty quick. Doesn't take too much time. And because it's the softer tofu, silken tofu, it blends really easily. And then if I wanted to add fresh herbs, I'd add it at this point here. I don't want to turn the mixture green. I want to make it look like eggs. So I'm just going to add it roughly chopped. You can add mint, cilantro. I have parsley here. You can add whatever you want.
They don't like cilantro.
Is that like the forbidden word now?
Yeah.
You're not gonna like the next recipe then. All right, so parsley goes in, and I'm gonna just pulse it just until it combines. But that's it, just to mix the parsley through. If I kept going, then it's gonna look like a parsley smoothie or something like that. Yeah. So, or you can make like, I guess, green eggs and ham or something like that. But there's our egg mixture, right? So it's already starting to look like whisked eggs, right? We have the egg yolk. That's all we have to do. It doesn't look like it's going to come together, but it does.
We will.
And essentially, now you have to find a device to put it in. So if you have a baking pan, like the ring form baking pans, just grease them up. You could put it in there. If you have a good non-stick, then you can use that. So mine is oven safe, so I can put it directly in the oven. So I have my caramelized onions, and I'm going to add my mixture directly to the pan.
Yeah. And for this specific recipe, you're going to get 8 grams of protein per serving. So it's about a quarter of that pie that you're getting, which is really great. It's a little bit lower than 2 eggs, for example, but it's still making every bite count. You're filling it up with good fats and proteins.
So just get it all out. We're gonna add a little bit of goat cheese as well. So if I stopped here, this is sort of like a nice vegan omelet or frittata. I'm gonna add goat cheese. You can add like a vegan cheese if you want, something like that.
Yeah.
But I love goat cheese.
Yeah. So together with the coconut milk and the tofu, you're actually getting a balanced meal that's combining, your proteins and your fats.
So I'm just gonna put some larger pieces, spread it throughout.
Yeah.
And you want to prep your oven, have it preheated to about 400 degrees. So it's nice and hot. And this is going to go in for about 30 to 40 minutes. If you like it a little creamier, like on the softer side, go on the 30 end. And then if you like it to set a little firmer, then you're gonna go on the higher end. And then just keep an eye on the color. If it's like really starting to get dark, everyone's oven is different. And then if you have convection on, if you don't have convection on, so really just keep an eye on the color and sort of give it a jiggle. It should almost move like a solid piece of Jell-O, but it should not be wet inside. But that's pretty much it. You can add, again.
Yeah, and you can always put in some spinach if you, or any type of other vegetables other than the onion to actually make it more of that balanced meal, or having something on the side. But again, when you don't feel like eating, or you have an appetite loss, you really want to make every bite count, and that's coming from the proteins and the calories.
All right, so that goes into the oven.
Smells delicious.
Yes, thank you. So about 30, 40 minutes. And, all right, so there we go. So this one I did in a ring form pan, the onions and the goat cheese on top. And you can see the texture is pretty much exactly like egg. Yeah. So take it off. And we'll give it a little slice, or maybe I'll just slice it on here.
You just slid it out. You didn't like upside down.
I did one upside down.
Oh, okay.
So I'll show you the difference. So this one I put in the pan, so I just slid out. But then this one here is just the pan flipped upside down. That one there.
Oh, okay.
So it's pretty much the same thing. Yeah, because the onions on the bottom aren't going to be exposed to direct heat, they're not going to get as sort of crispy as doing it this way. So it all depends. It's up to you. But that is what we're looking for. And so I like mine a little bit on the softer side, but.
And also, if appetite loss is affected because you're nauseous or you have vomiting, then this is actually a good type of meal because there's not that many smells that are coming from it. Because sometimes when you feel nauseous, it actually could be because of different smells that are coming in. So this is one that actually has a low potency also.
Yeah, especially with eggs too. They tend to be sulfury in aroma. So that's it. That's our Tofuttata. You can see the firmness, really nice and creamy in the middle, and texturally, it's unbelievably similar to eggs. So Nice little change, nice little alternative.
Yeah, to
And for your
having
vegetarian friends, and this might be a nice option as well. And that's it. That's our tofuttata.
tofuttata.